Very pleased to have with us right here on set one of the new members of the NRA's board, Congressman Dan Boren. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. This is a real highlight. This show is wonderful. Boy, we had a big group, thousands of people. That's probably the largest audience I've ever given a speech to, and they were fired up.
It's sure larger than that audience was one of the last times we were together over in Cromwell, right?
That's right.
On that flatbed trailer?
We were together when I was running for the Oklahoma State Legislature, and you're right. It was a little bit smaller group. I've had town hall meetings with one person before, so with just a very small group. So this is a lot bigger deal.
I got to tell you, Cam, back when the congressman and I were in Cromwell, and when he was running for the State House of Representatives, he was a little leery, I think, because here I was a Republican, getting ready to introduce him, a Democrat. But I got to tell you, he's one of my favorite. Well, he's probably my favorite Democrat.
Well, listen, Mike, I've said this on the program many times. When I was a radio host in Oklahoma City, I thought that there were a lot of differences between Republicans and Democrats in the state of Oklahoma, and then I moved to Northern Virginia, and all of a sudden I realized, you know what? There's a different breed on the East Coast of not only Democrats but Republicans as well, and Republicans and Democrats in the state of Oklahoma find such common ground on a lot of different issues, including the Second Amendment.
That's right. We have a great leadership team in Oklahoma. Danny Morgan, who was my seatmate in the state legislature. We're kind of, we're like Blue Dog Democrats, which I'm a member of that organization. People ask, what's a blue dog? Well, a blue dog is a yellow dog that's been squeezed by the left wing of our party. and so
you need to make a poster on that.
That's right.
Squeeze till he's blue.
That's right. And so, we go straight down the middle. I mean, we work on a lot of different issues that really are not partisan. They're just American. And I think that's where most people are. They want their problems solved. Right now we've got a lot of big things going on in the country, and people are a little worried, and they're just looking for people who will roll up their sleeves and not be so partisan and just try to get some things done.
But you hit on something. I mean, you just spoke of the celebration of American values. And the Second Amendment, our freedom, our liberty, is an American value. And I've said, and I think you'll hopefully agree with me, that the Second Amendment doesn't have to belong to one political ideology. It's big enough for both. It's big enough for any political party in this country to be a strong supporter of the Second Amendment. That's just off the table. Why can't that just be off the table?
I can tell you, when I ran for Congress, I had a very difficult primary. And,
I guess you did.
Very difficult. And I remember, a couple of the labor unions had actually gone against me in my primary. But we took our Second Amendment cards, our Hunter Orange cards, and we went, when they were changing shifts, and we let them know that I supported the Second Amendment. And I tell you what, that turned around a lot of votes. People really understood that was key to our election strategy, and we won because of that.
And that is such a good point, because I remember the last couple of elections we were up in the coal mining areas, and their unions would send out things about who to vote for, and don't put the Second Amendment first, and you'd go in and talk to those guys, and they tell you right up front, my Second Amendment goes first before anything.
There's a lot of those NRA stickers on lunch boxes.
But I got to ask you, because I think I was reading I was reading where you harvested your first buck when you were 9 years old?
I was 9 years old.
And you've been doing that ever since then?
Ever since. I've hunted really all over the world, but mainly, in eastern Oklahoma. We have a small farm just right down from Muskogee that I go. I've got a couple deer blinds set out and everything, and it's about the only time when I get any peace and quiet, because we get 40,000 pieces of mail a year. You get irate phone calls, and there are certain times when you can just think, and it's when you're sitting in a deer blind and you don't have anyone hassling you, and you can actually just relax. And it's what better way to get away and have a hobby than to go hunting.
How have you found Washington so far? Are you adjusting? Was there an adjustment period?
There was. It's a lot different than the Oklahoma legislature, because there was a lot more bipartisanship in the legislature. In Congress, it's very partisan. It's run really by leaderships of both sides. 4 or 5 in the hierarchy pretty much make a lot of the decisions. unless you find a way to build coalitions like the Blue Dogs or whatever groups to force their hand. And so it's very different. And of course, you have the numbers are larger, and you don't have those personal friendships probably that you did like in the legislature. We would actually do our business on the floor. When you turn on the television and you watch C-SPAN and you see us voting on the floor, that's the only time we're actually together. You go back to your office and you spend time by yourself. So it's very different. It's very partisan. Sometimes it's personal, and it shouldn't be that way.
And they say, that this has been a rough year for you're exactly what you're talking about, that it's never been as bad as it is right now.
It was different when my dad was in the Senate. I think Republicans and Democrats, they would go to dinner at night with each other. They would spend weekends together. Their families would do things together. I can remember growing up being in Wyoming with the Simpsons, Alan Simpson's family. I mean, we did things together, and so it is very different now. And I'm an optimist. I think we can turn this thing around. I think we can bring people together. I think we can solve a lot of the problems. I mean, obviously the economy, people are worried about everything from their homes to high energy prices, but we can do it. We're the United States of America. Remember when the Japanese, everyone thought that the Japanese were going to buy up the United States in the early 90s, and guess what? That didn't happen. And this will pass as well, and we'll be able to get past some of these tough times, and we'll be okay.
Congressman, let me jump in and ask you a quick question. Gun control as an issue this election year. Do you think it's going to be much of an issue? What are you hearing?
It's got to be. The NRA, whether it's at the congressional level or the presidential level, is making it an issue. And I think it's a good thing, letting people know where each candidate stands. You can even see this within the Democratic, with both Democratic presidential candidates. They are starting to move towards the gun owner's position. Their voting records, their voting records don't show it. But as you notice, all of a sudden they're starting to talk about it because they're figuring out that this thing is really important. And if you're going to win in Ohio, if you're going to win in Pennsylvania, if you're going to win in states like that, you better support the Second Amendment. And we've got in the Congress, there are many Democrats who support the Second Amendment. I wish some of our presidential candidates would do that. I know Bill Richardson of New Mexico has been a strong supporter in the past. Mark Warner of Virginia. So there is hope, but we've just got to prod them a little bit.
We've only got a couple minutes left here before we have to take a break. I want to ask you two questions. One, you signed on to that amicus brief, the congressional amicus brief,
That's right.
Urging the end to the gun ban in Washington, D.C. Was that an easy decision for you to make?
Oh, it's very easy. It's been the D.C. gun ban has been terrible over the last 30 years. It's just it's an awful thing when you can't protect your family no matter where you are. And D.C. is a crime-ridden place. And let me tell you what, if someone's breaking into my house, I'm not going to place a phone call and hope someone comes to save me. I want to be armed. And it's just people in D.C., just like in Muskogee, Oklahoma, deserve that right, and it's our constitutional right. I think the Supreme Court will rule in our favor. I think we're going to be in good shape.
Secondly, what made you decide that you wanted to run for the board of directors of the National Rifle Association?
I think it's important. Well, for me personally, it's always been a goal of mine because I've been a life member. I've been involved in hunting and the Second Amendment for many years. But I also think it's important that the organization be bipartisan. I think that in the past, John Dingell, Jack Brooks, you've had some members of Congress, Democrats who've been members of the board. And so I think it's good to have that counterbalance and to let people know that it's a bipartisan organization. Republicans, obviously, en masse have supported the Second Amendment, but we need some Democrats to do that too. And it's a good thing for the organization.
Excellent. Well, again, Congressman Boren, thank you so much for your time this afternoon, and
thank you.
Enjoy your time in Louisville. You're going to get a chance to wander around and look at stuff?
I'm gonna buy some stuff. In fact, tonight they're having an auction, the ILA auction, so I'm going to be there. Don't tell my wife I bought anything, but we'll see what we can do.
All right, Congressman, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.